How's that going?
When we're pushing it out to that boundary, they're blocking it. And we don't have the designation on range yet. So there's a conflict brewing. That, and I want to make sure it can be roads and utilities. That was the other. Jarrett, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Hey, excellent.
You have your Zoom on mute?
It's on mute. Let's see, make sure this one's up.
Everybody's on mute. We should be good. Nobody else joined the Zoom.
I just turned my volume on. So that'll do. Okay. Do I have to be on mute or unmute?
You can mute it. Just mine has to be on the unmute to the system to work. So we should.
All right. Okay, it's a few minutes past 5, so we'd like to go ahead and call this Santa Clara City Council work meeting to order. I'd like to appreciate everybody who's here tonight. And we have a full council tonight. Present in the chambers is Councilman Shakespeare. Councilwoman Mathis is here, Councilman Drake and Councilman Gubler are here, and Councilman Waite is joining us via Zoom. And he can hear us. We've checked on that already. So go ahead and call this meeting to order and go right into the working agenda. Item 2A under general business is a discussion on the mural located at 3204 Santa Clara Drive. Is he here yet?
I've not seen
Okay.
Mr.
Is Jason here?
No, and I believe we had talked to Jason about coming because Mr. Grover with his presentation had asked for about 30 minutes. We had told Jason to come a little bit later to be here beginning. So
Okay.
if Daniel's not here, we could jump to Mr. Bannon at item 3.
Okay. Oh. Scott, you're on the hot seat, buddy. Jumping down to item 3. And we'll come back to the first 2 items when those people get here. Oh, are you here for item number 1? Okay, great. We'll come back to you when they all get here. Thank you. Item number 2A3 is a discussion on proposed code amendment to the Santa Clara City Code, Title 13, Chapter 13.24, Stormwater Low Impact Development Standards, and discussion on adoption of the Dixie Stormwater Coalition Low Impact Development Application Guidance for Santa Clara City. Scott given the lead on this? Or
Yes.
We can make it work.
okay.
Scott can take the lead since Jack's
And Clint's
not here.
here from Bowen and Collins to answer any questions on the technical part of it. But we just have to adopt it. It came down from the state. So back in 2010, the EPA started making some regulations with low impact development standards. They finally devised a plan and pushed it out to the states in 2018, which was adopted and then pushed out to the local municipalities with the MS4s. So as of July 1st of this year, it was supposedly implemented within our city code and adopted with the LID manual. The Dixie Stormwater Coalition got together as a group and decided that with our soils and other things being different, because the state pushed this out as a statewide mandate, not taking into consideration the different soils and things that can affect this low impact design in southern Utah. We did a study with Bowen and Collins doing the research with the coalition and put together a manual for us with 5 examples of low impact development that is becoming the standard for the state, that the developers have to at least research and take a look at, and if can adopt any within the development of a subdivision, there has to be a justification why none of the following LIDs will work. So we had to make changes to our ordinances, the stormwater ordinance, the 13.24. I put in the LID manual in there, and then I believe that the manual, the executive, the LID manual was sent out to you by email so you could review it. So if you have any questions, I know Clint can answer them. See, that's what I told you.
No. I think I want to take a step back. And I mean, this is an EPA mandate, a mandate that originates with the EPA that was put on the state several years ago. The state is now enforcing it on the cities if they're of a certain size. And since we are part of the MPO, Ivan, Santa Clara, St. George, and Washington are basically get pushed into adopting this type of a manual. And then in order to facilitate some of the language in the manual, we need to change our stormwater regulations, right? What I think I'd really like Clint to explain to me in layman's terms is the impact it's going to have on the individual property owner, how it impacts building permits, how it impacts development approvals, some of the steps, the additional steps are going to have to go through, and if we have an idea what those additional costs are going to be for the council. So just, I'll step back also, and then hopefully all of you are aware of what low impact development even means. Essentially, it just means you're trying to facilitate and encourage stormwater to stay on the original site where it fell, rather than the traditional approach, which is to take the rain, put it in a storm drain, put it in a curb and gutter, put it in a pipe, and take it out to the river. So low impact development is kind of a trend in the industry. And as Scott said, you know, the state is now mandated. There's a couple of things that they've mandated. They've always required us to manage our stormwater runoff during the construction time period to make sure that we're not discharging a ton of sediment off of our sites. And that's why you see those fiber rolls and the black fences around construction sites. That's to try to keep dirt and pollutants on the site and filter the stormwater. And a number of years ago, I'm not sure when, but they put in a requirement to actually, they actually had language in there even before this most current permit that required retaining on site, but it was hard. Nobody was really doing it. Nobody in the state did it because there was no specific number tied to it. So then the state came out and tied this number to it. And they've said, okay, for this specific amount of rain, you got to keep all of that rain on your site from now during construction into perpetuity. And so that's one of the major changes. And so they, and then the other changes is you have to give contractors at least 5 options for LID. They call them BMPs, or best management practices, but basically it's 5 types of LID measures that the city or whatever governing body is in charge of reviewing their plans has to give them those options. And then it's not just because you're in the MPO, it's because you maintain a storm drain system and because you discharge to a surface water of the United States that you fall into this. So even small communities in Utah will fall under this if they maintain a storm drain system. And if they're collecting and discharging, it falls under your discharge permit for storm drain. As far as the impacts it's going to have, there is a threshold on the requirement, and it is any site that is larger than 1 acre in size. So an individual homeowner that's less than 1 acre, even if they were to redo their whole site, they're not going to have to meet any of these new requirements. It's really geared towards new development and any redevelopment larger than 1 acre. And the requirements are a little bit different for redevelopment versus new development. Basically, they are only responsible for the new impervious areas that they're adding, like roofs and pavement that would generate more runoff. But new developments, if they're larger than 1 acre, they're going to have to, in our case, in Washington County, are going to have to retain 0.44 inches of rainfall. And that's the 80th percentile storm event, which basically means 80% of all storms are less than or equal to 0.44 inches in total depth. So, you know, if you get a storm, you're going to have 80% chance of it being less than 0.44 inches. So they want to encourage the drainage patterns, what they've said and what they believe are the existing drainage patterns are anything less than 0.44 inches in this area, they think doesn't generate runoff and doesn't end up in the stream. Now, whether or not that's true or not, that's a matter of some debate, but they actually did come down. They were originally going to require the 90th percentile event, which would have been more storms. So 90% of all storms would have to be retained on site. Now, we're basically for new developments, you know, at Bowen Collins, you know, as the development review engineer, you know, we review these studies that come in from developers, and we're just, as of July 1st, which is when the permit went into effect, or at least this particular requirement of the permit went into effect, we're now looking at drainage studies that are submitted with new developments and making sure that they are at least addressing what we call water quality, but essentially this retention requirement. So a new developer will have to show that they're either providing retention using one of the selected criteria in this manual that all the cities in the metropolitan area have adopted or are trying to adopt, or if they're not able to do that, that they're documenting a reason why. So if they have collapsible soils on their site or expansive soils on their site, and there's a real reason why we don't want water to stay on the site because it's a danger to the properties and the structures that will be built there, and that's okay. The state just wants us to make sure that we're adequately documenting that. And so that's being taken care of as an additional section in a drainage study, and then calculations that they'll have to submit. So that's a lot of it. I don't know if I hit all of your questions, Mayor. Yeah, I think so. The BMPs, are they in the manual?
They are. I'm not sure which 5. The state came out with a list of a lot of other BMPs that they wanted us to use, and that's kind of what the impetus was to have the Stormwater Coalition form and take care of that. Scott's grabbing it for me. Right. So they had a list of like 10 or 12 BMPs that they were going to recommend, and then we've chosen to highlight 5, and those are bioretention cell, which would be like a constructed wetland, a vegetated strip, which is basically just a glorified shallow ditch that has vegetation in it that lets water run through it and infiltrate as it runs through it. A tree box filter, which would be you construct a large box around your tree, you let your tree grow in it, and then you have a collection on the upstream side that takes water in, just stores it in there, and it waters the tree. A dry well, which is just a big pit in the ground that you put the water into and let it seep in. And then you're required by the new permit to also include harvest and reuse, which would be like rain barrels. The other problem with rain barrels is, one of the things that the city struggled with was how do we make sure that those are being used and maintained if that's what's adopted or if that's what the developer wants to adopt. And so we also adopted another BMP, which is the minimum requirement that the MP or that the Stormwater Coalition is saying we have to meet, which is a disconnected impervious area. It sounds really complicated, but basically all that means is on your home or on a residence or on a commercial development, roof drains collect in storm gutters or collect in drains and then come down and then discharge. Well, traditionally they discharge to another impervious area and go straight on into storm drain. A disconnected impervious area then says, well, let's put something pervious, grass, gravel, something that can capture that runoff from that spout and infiltrate it on site. And then Bowen Collins actually only developed one particular part of this manual. We did that particular BMP. The rest of the manual was collected by another firm called J.E. Fuller, who's done a lot of stuff, hydrology studies in the area, so they're really familiar with our climate. But that's the BMP that we put together, and it's kind of the bare minimum that they have to do. If they can't do anything, they got to try to see, is that at least feasible? Can we try to disconnect as many roof drains as possible? We've come up, it looks like there's another detail that the coalition is putting together now that may end up making it into the manual. It's not in there now. Basically, it's just a schematic view that shows, all we're trying to say is put a minimum drainage area downstream of that spout so that it can infiltrate on site.
Council, it's a work meeting, so it's your opportunity to ask questions.
Well, just a layman's question. How do you have a roof disconnected or a roof connected?
Well, the connection happens. The connection is not necessarily a physical, your pipe. So basically your roof goes into your rain gutter and it goes into a downspout. And it's where does it go from there? Does it go onto the parking lot, which then goes to a curb and gutter, which goes into an inlet and through a storm drain into the river? That would be connected, right? Because it's got a impervious connection all the way. The path of flow from the rooftop to the river is impervious the whole way. It can't get into the groundwater, basically. If it's disconnected, you're putting space in between the impervious roof and parking lot and the downstream receiving water, essentially. And the idea is you're doing it on the site that's putting in the new impervious areas, the new rooftops and the new parking lots. Now, I mean, there's other things that, just because this is what we've highlighted in this manual, doesn't mean that a developer has to use these and these are the only options. They can propose others. They just got to be reviewed and approved by the reviewing body, in our case, us and the cities. So like pervious, you may have heard of pervious pavements. That's another thing that they're more expensive. So a lot of times developers don't want to do them, but those are maybe an option, but they also are not really great with our soils. So we have to look at them on a case by case basis.
Is there a preferred alternative? Is roof connected, roof disconnected? Is there any preferred alternative to this?
Depends on who you are, what your preferred alternative is. But I mean, roof disconnected in the state's view is the preferred method of doing things. And that's the most LID centric or water quality friendly way to do it. But you can't do it in all cases because it may be you have a geotechnical study that says, look, we really can't have water within 50 feet of the foundation of this building. So because of that, no, we can't disconnect the rooftop. Or, you know, we're going to put it on the parking lot, but then we're going to do something with it 50 or 75 feet away from the building.
Certain cases will require different BMPs. They won't work everywhere.
And hopefully we're giving them the flexibility, and the state, even the state in their own language says, we're not dictating the methods you have to use. We're just saying you have to somehow, to the maximum extent practical is the language they like to use, which basically means just do your best. If you can't, make sure you document it. So we gotta have a good reason, and it's the state auditors that decide what the good reason is, right? And then we have to basically try to enforce what we think they're gonna enforce on us. It's kind of a pass down thing.
So this falls on the developers. So 1 acre lots and less. Who's responsible for this? The developer comes in, they put a master plan for the development, how to catch it, or does it ultimately fall back on the homeowner? Because you're talking about roof, curb and gutter tying in, yet earlier we said it doesn't affect 1 acre and less. So are we enforcing single family residents 1 acre and less on how they discharge their rain gutter now, or is that left for the development?
Not on any existing lots. But on new lots, it's not set in stone how it would happen, but with existing mechanisms that are in place, what we would do is something like during the review of the preliminary plat and the drainage study for the development, we would say, okay, look, based on the lot sizes, based on the type of development you're putting in here, the engineer that's doing the drainage study is going to have to make some assumptions of, we think we're going to have this much impervious area. This is how much we would have to retain on site. And they can decide, the engineer, it's just another aspect of that engineer's design. So the real answer to your question is it's on the development. But the other question is, okay, you disconnect rooftops, the developer comes in and grades the pad, he doesn't build the homes, right? He sells the lots off to somebody else. I don't know exactly how we're going to do that, but I think that with existing, the way we've done this in the past is we would add a note to the preliminary plat that is then recorded against that subdivision that says, you know, on this development, you're going to have disconnected rooftop drains. Or the developer, when he actually grades it, he would grade in some sort of retention facility, right? So right now, traditionally, we're focused more on peaks and just making sure our storm drain system is flood control based. And we put in detention basins. I don't know if you're familiar with what a detention basin is, but you know, basically it's that hole in the ground that's on the downstream end of a development that kind of holds the stormwater and lets it out at a metered rate so that we don't overwhelm downstream storm drain systems. Well, now, in addition to doing that, the developer would have to either provide an area in that pond that doesn't drain out and infiltrates, that holds that minimum amount of volume, or they could put in some of these other BMPs. So it's kind of between the developer and the city in our review process, exactly how we're going to do it. They can propose what they want, but at a minimum, we're going to have something or some documentation that says we at least tried.
And that's my concern on us. All of a sudden now we're seeing a small detention basin on every single home out front at the curb there, which is, you see them in the developments. And that's why I'm saying, if it's addressed in the development, are we going to require that on the single family as well? And how does that get monitored? And
we're going to treat
who's
it
paying for all that?
on the review basis. You know, we're going to look at the overall development. You know, if we have a single home that, I mean, again, you got this 1 acre thing that you're working with, right? So if they haven't, essentially, if they do a development, and let's say that development builds out and there's just a couple lots that haven't sold off, right? It's been a couple of years and they are submitting now for a building permit. We're not going to go back and say, hey, now you got to put a detention basin in, unless on that preliminary plat, we had made a note at the time of development that they have to do something in addition, you know, to what they would normally have to do. And my hope is that we're not going to be putting that on individual homeowners. My hope is we can just have the developer take care of it. Now, it might be as simple as, rather than a detention basin on every lot, they now have a park strip, and that park strip has an inverted section in it. So now the retention is handled just in that inverted park strip. It really just depends on what the actual volume is for that development.
Anybody else got any questions? Clint?
Can I ask a dumb question?
There are no dumb questions.
Yours helped me a lot. My dumb question is, so when the developer's looking at 2 acres and you're putting 8 homes on that 2 acres, if you put in a park strip, does this retention all have to be per site, so they're 1/4 acre lots? Or can you say, well, we're meeting the requirement because it's in this inverted park strip?
If we can show that that inverted park strip has the right amount of volume. So what they would do in this case is if they had a 2 acre development, they would have to just provide documentation that we're going to have 50% impervious area on this development when it develops as 1/4 acre lots. Now that guidance, you know, those minimum percentages are not spelled out in the manual. It's left up to the engineer and to the reviewer to see if those are reasonable. So if somebody were to come in with a development and say, we're only going to have 10% impervious area, me knowing the area, I know that's not what it really is going to be. So I'm going to come back and say, no, you know, up your impervious area. So we got to come to an agreement on what the actual, and it has to be based on some sound engineering judgment. Whatever that volume is, it fits in the park strip, and then that park strip's it. That's all we need.
So you guys are going to review every site plan,
I mean, we review every site plan already.
but somebody's actually going to come out and like check it and make sure that they're done. And I don't know, I'm just thinking this is a,
Yeah, I mean, they check now. I mean, so
Okay.
in the course of our review, they have minimum things that they have to have utilities and certain road stuff that's going to become city property for sure. The city is inspecting and making sure they're doing
Sure.
now.
Sure.
This is also kind of up to the city on a development basis, but whether or not the city is going to own these retention facilities, I don't think that the city owns detention facilities now, do you? Okay. So you didn't hear Scott, he said like of the 10 detention basins we have in the city now, 2 of them are 2 are public and the rest are privately owned. So like an HOA. And that's kind of the standard. I know Washington City does it that way. I don't know about St. George City, but that's basically what they do is they build these facilities and then put it on the HOA to maintain them. Now, if you were a homeowner and you owned a 1 acre lot or larger, then yeah, you're going to be responsible for maintaining your own thing. Now, we also have to have a program in place for inspecting these periodically, and we get audited by the state, I think every 5 or so years.
It's required by the city to do an inspection every 5 years, but the property owner has to do it every year. And we have to maintain those records somehow, which we have developed something, a written agreement now. Have to go out and meet with those privately owned ones, make sure they're getting clean, and then we inspect them every 5 years. That came out in our audit here last week.
So
It's
we
not
have,
unusual either to have an agreement with the HOA. So now you guys have brought up an agreement that you're going to have them sign in the future that would cover that.
so does the city of Washington have its own stormwater system in place?
Yeah, they have their system's similar to yours. They would have storm drain, real
And
similar.
so this is in addition to that stormwater system that would, I mean, city of Santa Clara has a stormwater system in place. We charge our individual homeowners a particular fee for that stormwater system. How does that impact what you're talking about?
Doesn't really change that because it doesn't change the criteria that we use to size the facilities and to, I mean, really that's all, that impact fee is really focused on building the infrastructure to make sure we have flood control facilities, that we can get the water from the development to the river without inundating properties, right? And maintaining that system. There has not been like an impact fee analysis associated with implementing this retention requirement.
We may have to visit our drainage fee, our monthly user fee based on the cost, once we see what the costs are coming in to do the additional maintenance and additional record keeping.
Yeah,
on
if the city
side.
starts having to maintain them because the HOAs are not doing it, I mean, there's another,
Who is going to take responsibility for that development when it's built out? Is it going to fall back on the city? And then are we going to have to implement some type of cost of those homeowners for us going in and maintaining it? That was one of the big questions that we can't get an answer from the state or trying to figure out.
So why couldn't we, again, we have blue clay. Why couldn't we just say, we don't want to keep the water on our sites and let it saturate into our soils and let it flow to the river? Because there's a big cost, and I'm just want to be perfectly clear at the costs that come along with all of this, because it becomes additional staff and increased impact fees. And I guess where I'm going with this is my recommendation would be we find under what's been mandated the legal minimum as a city. And I think with the collapsible soils we have, we've got the perfect reason to do it, is because we don't want to catch water sitting on the heights. We've got water coming out from under that hill as it is right now. It just hits that clay line and
The
flows it.
exceptions, if I understand it right, the exceptions are there. You just have to, as part of your approval process, document the exception. And then, have the evidence that when you go under an audit that, yeah, it's there. You'd have a geotech report that would show the presence of the collapsible or expandable soils. That would be the evidence as to why you issued the exception.
Correct. And other cities have tried and failed to tell the state, we just want to blanket the whole city because we have bad soils. And yeah, under the MS4, which is your municipal separate storm system. Basically your permit to discharge, they're going to enforce that on you. And it's basically up to them to decide, you know. So cities have tried to do that and failed. And so this, I think, was a good effort by the Stormwater Coalition to get together and say, okay, if we're not going to let just us blanket, you know, the entire city of Santa Clara because of collapsible soils or hurricane. Hurricane has big issues with collapsible soils as well, or expansive soils. Then what can we do that would make it easier on developers to document this? So one of the aspects of this is there's maps, general area maps that will help developers, you know, they can look at this and say, is my site in an area with collapsible soils? Okay, well, that's maybe what I really want to look at with my geotechnical report. So I'm going to have my geotech, you know, focus on that and then provide documentation that we can all stick in a file. When the state comes back 5 years from now and says, how come you didn't put any retention in on any of these 10 developments that went in the last year? Well, we can say on this one, this one, and this one, it was because we had expansive soil on the site.
And we require the geotech report anyway. So that's not an additional cost on the development. That detailed information is there on the sites as they come in for development review. You can, it's easy for the engineer to look at that geotech report and determine whether or not it's going to qualify for an exception. A lot of Santa Clara will, but there's quite a bit that won't. The valley won't qualify for an exception. Some of the areas up in the heights won't qualify. So,
Well, the heights, I mean, the heights already flows to a detention basin that we have. I mean, everything's caught there.
the northern part of it does.
Yeah. So, I mean, would that qualify as already, would that serve as that entire area? It's maintained, it's.
Not for new development.
Yeah, not for new.
Unless, I mean, the other thing you could potentially look at doing is if you had the minimum new, if you had the developable area of that and you went into your regional detention facility and dug the bottom out or something and made it so that there was some dead storage in there, and you're saying, okay, we calculated for all this developable area, the volume that they would have had to retain on site is this, and we put it in this pond, you might be able to get them to do that.
Or do a similar pond upstream, a separate facility that would be a new facility specific for that use. We can look at that in some areas. And I think we probably should in areas that aren't going to work very well. We probably want to look at doing some of that as we go forward in the future.
But then you're talking about you're going to need impact fees and things like that because now you're funding all
Exactly.
these facilities.
Well, and again, it comes down to land use as well. You know, you start chewing up large parcels of property for detention basins and, you know, big developments. And I don't know how much land we
We've
have.
got, one advantage we've got on the heights is the Tuacahn Wash already has 2 of them on it.
Yeah.
It's already, the natural flows have already been disrupted by the existing basins that are on stream. And so the ability to add others is there. Where you may not have that on a Virgin River, for example, or on the Santa Clara River, you wouldn't have that ability. We can do it on the Tuacahn Wash because of the existing facilities already in play. And we'll have to work through that as we go through development reviews, may affect the Black Desert reviews. All the newer projects that are coming in now, they're larger than an acre, is going to have to go through this review process. We'll have to find a way.
And I think that's yes, as we proceed, because ultimately, yeah, it falls on the developer, but ultimately it's the end user that pays for it because all those costs get passed into lot costs and everything else. So again, all important to protect our waterways, but there are a lot of mandates coming down that as a city, if we can look at things with, you know, end user in mind as well, I think that's how we need to look at it.
Any other questions? This is just a work meeting. There'll be additional discussion on it. But
For the preliminary plats, we already have approved, like Drake's project up there, because I think we did.
that one was ahead of it, so it's not being
So it's not
applied to
applicable, right?
Desert Village, but it is being applied to Heritage.
Heritage Point Townhomes is currently in review, so we're
Okay.
gonna make that comment on that review.
Okay.
Fortunately, it's on the lava.
They've already got,
Good soil.
in that one, they already have detention facilities. We just, I just reviewed that one preliminarily, and my first comment was I didn't see a retention, anything mentioned in retention. So I'm still going through that one, but they are gonna, I've talked with the engineer and they think they can meet it on that one pretty easy.
Okay.
Okay, well, we got some other issues to talk about, so thank you, Clint, Scott,
Want me to
appreciate your
stick around, or
time.
you can talk about it later, or?
No, we'll probably bring you back when it's on as an action item on the agenda. I think it's like the 22nd,
26th, I believe.
26th.
Perfect. Okay, I'll come back.
Okay, thank you, Clint,
Thank you.
appreciate it. Council, let's go back to item 2A1. This is the discussion on the mural located at 3204 Santa Clara Drive. Corey's presenting, and we have Daniel Grover is here, the artist. Go ahead, Corey.
Just to review, Jonathan Cohen, the property owner at 3204 Santa Clara Drive, was approved by the Heritage Commission and the City Council to have Native American artwork installed on a retaining wall located on his property. Jonathan Cohen will return from COVID-19 service in late November. He's back east in, I think, Norfolk, Virginia, doing that service. And at that time, we'll try to get a plaque up there and maybe a dedication ceremony. But this work meeting, Daniel Grover, the Growler, the artist, would like to speak on the artistic design that was put on there. And so,
Awesome. Come on up, sir. Is your last name Growler? Okay. It's on my agenda with a B, so I apologize. Oh, yeah. You're being broadcast all through homes throughout southern Utah as we speak.
Okay, my name is Daniel Growler from Cedar City, Utah. I'm a Southern Paiute Indian. Jonathan set up the big wall down there by his house to do a mural, and he got with the city and they okayed it. My mural is dedicated to the Shivwits Indian tribe out at Santa Clara, and then they wanted me and myself to recognize the beauty and the culture of the Native American Indian people that lives here. And my mural on the wall is a story of the different colors of life that we live in, like the world we have today. The circle of the life of the wall is what we all live in, a circle of the earth. And the colors are the colors of the red for the rocks and the ground, blue for the water, sky, yellow for the sun, white for the clouds and the daylight. And there's 13 of them on that wall, and each one of them tells a story of the Native American Indian people. And I was glad and really happy to do this for the city, to have them recognize the Indian culture as well. It took me 2 weeks to do this. I'm a, what do you call it, Indian graphic designer. A lot of Indian artists, they do portraits, landscapes, animals, stuff. I don't do that. I'm a designer. I design colors, lights, and lines, and really precise precision design that I do. The artwork is very unique to a lot of Indian artist people, and very unique to the people of the city and whoever sees it, because it's different. And I do this all on my head, my brain, and my body with help from somebody that helps me on my own. I did this all on my own. Is the mayor here today?
Mayor, it's me.
Is a mayor? Oh,
Me.
I got something for you.
Awesome.
And I'd like to give this one for you and one for Bundy. Yeah. And the one I left here, that's for the city. I guess it had the little writings on it.
Okay.
That's for the city, for you guys to have in your office.
Awesome.
And I like to hand out these,
Or he's good.
hand these out to each one of them. This is the type of work I do. I do these in watercolors, and I usually get $20 out of them, you know. But this is a gift for you. And and I brought my colleagues here, the Cedar City, who come down there support me from the Paiute Indian tribe. So after I get this one done here, it's all done now. And I sealed it so it'll last forever. And I got those three over there. And then I got one I got to do for the Cedar City town there. They want me to do four of them on a billboard or on a big wall up there for them next week. And I got another one that's going on for the University of Utah. That's going to go on the next week. That's going to be 12 of them. So I'm going to be busy doing my artwork and my design. And they got grants and all this to pay for what I'm doing. But I want to thank you for let me do this mural for this city, so the city will have something to appreciate and look at every day. And there's one thing though, but there was two little trees in the way. I wonder if they can just maybe put some roses there so that way everybody can see it. If you have time, you know, or if you want, you know.
I think Brad trimmed the trees. Is that what I was told? But that's something we can look at. I don't know if you noticed it since the trees were trimmed, if
Yeah.
that was better.
Yeah, because they're kind of in the way, like, you know, but, you know, it's something else where everybody can, and I want to thank all the people who came by and supported me with the water and food, you know, because everybody likes the artwork that I've done. They're really excited to see it. So this will last forever, you know, and maybe when they have a Swiss days, I might go down there and sign autographs, you know, people come by, you know, when you have Swiss days.
That would be cool. We
might
can
do
do
that.
some other recognition as well as we're going to talk tonight about Swiss days, and with COVID, we're not sure how it's going to go this year,
Mhm.
but we can definitely, I'd love to be able to recognize you when we do have the opportunity to have an event. So
Is
have
that,
gatherings.
is that the chief of police here today?
He's over there in the corner hiding.
Oh, yeah, I got one for him too. Yeah, I got one for him too. He's my friend. So I'm thankful for what I did. I'm thankful for having the support from the people of the city of Santa Clara. And I'm thankful for what I've done. It's something that will last forever and be appreciated by a lot of people of the community. And I want to thank you guys for letting me have the opportunity and the time to say a few words here about what I do as a Native American Indian artist.
We appreciate the work that you did. It's a beautiful mural.
And I did write, each one of them has a little story, the little things like that. I
Mhm.
gave it to Bundy, and then
Okay. That's the
and-
plaque you're talking about, Corey.
Actually, when we were discussing the plaque, he submitted wording to tell you on each circle what each color and what each graphic detail was. So I don't know whether that's something that in the future we want to do a little plaque on each one, and then there's just a main plaque describing why it's there.
Cool. Let's look at it. No, I think I've been nothing but appreciative of the work that you did down there and
Yeah.
appreciate watching you do it.
Oh, yeah, a lot of people enjoyed it and liked it and praised me, and that's what I do as a hobby. I'm not a professional, but I should be though.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah. Well, okay, and thanks a lot for letting me be here then.
Well, thank you. Now, you've got a crew with you. Do any of them want to say anything while they're here?
Oh, I had the tribal chairman lady was going to come up here from the city reservation, but she couldn't make it.
Okay.
But I have my good friend here. Come on up, say a few words.
Hi, thanks for having Daniel down here. He does do good work. We like to see it and say that, yeah, he's one of us. We're proud of him, so.
I just need your name for the record.
Oh, sorry, I'm Bobby Rouser with the Cedar Band of Paiutes. So, all right.
Well,
Thank you.
welcome. Welcome to Santa Clara.
I love it down here. Always have. It's pretty. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks to your the rest of your support too.
Yeah, the response that we've had on social media, if you've seen any of it, has been really amazing.
Okay. Very cool. We appreciate your gift to the city, and we'll definitely reach out to you once we figure out what we're doing for Swiss Days and have you come back. And I want to apologize for last meeting when we had the long public hearing and there was a lot of people here that night. You could have sold a few of them if you'd had them out, probably. Okay. Is Jason here yet? Haven't seen Jason. Okay. Well, we're down to the Swiss Days discussion. And the Swiss Days chair people are here. Chairwomen. I just say yes, ma'am, whenever they ask me something. Yes, ma'am.
So we have Brooke and Laney here with us tonight to have a little discussion. We've met again about Swiss Days, as we talked a few meetings ago about Swiss Days. And we've trying to put together something that we think might work during the current conditions of COVID-19 and the guidelines we've been given. So I'll turn it over to Brooke and Laney to share a little bit kind of what we've discussed, and let's get your feedback and see what you guys think. And then if whatever, this is total discussion. We just have ideas we've come up that might work.
So we've thought a lot about the guidelines that the state gives us for Swiss Days. I don't know if you have read those, or they're really hard to implement with Swiss Days because we don't have one in and one day out, and the ability to track who come, and because you need to write down who's here present at the events and all of these things. So it's really hard in where we are with the location and the orange, whatever color it is. I don't know what color we're in. Yellow. When we're in yellow, there's just a lot of rules, and we tried, and with this location, it's just really hard. So we didn't really solicit businesses because we didn't feel right about doing that. We are going to post all the businesses that sponsored last year. We will still hang all their banners and put those out, put the cows out. But our ideas for Swiss Days, and I guess you guys can tell us your thoughts. We just don't have the funds that we did because we didn't raise the money. So putting up a large tent for only a few hours of activities that are going to be really hard to implement, we don't feel, I mean, is that worth it? That's where we were too. So
Yeah, so the tent, all the rentals are right around $10,000. So we didn't know if we did try to implement parts of the event and need the tent, we just didn't know like the balance of that, if it would be worth it, where we haven't brought in sponsors this year. So, and also meeting the guidelines on the sheet were really hard because we do have to have a name and contact information for every person that attends. We're supposed to have senior hours or those that are have health conditions, special times. We're supposed to track everyone. They should come in one way and out another way. The shuttle was a problem because they have to sanitize between every group that gets on. And as you know, every stop, that's just not even feasible. So there were some things that were really staring us in the face, like, what are we going to do? So we talked to Brock. We had a little powwow with Brock and Dixie. And some of the ideas we came up with, there is the possibility of doing a type of reverse parade. And we talked about decorating the new bridge, having Swiss flags, cows, maybe, some lighting, something to try and make it cool over there, and have council handing out something. I don't know, we talked about little bells or with some treats. I don't know, something like that. That was one idea. And that would be like on a Thursday. And then maybe there's the last home football game for Snow Canyon is the Friday night of Swiss Days. So it will be, and it's against Dixie. So I think it'll have a lot of people from the town there. And it's also senior night. So yeah, it's the last home game. So we wondered about maybe bringing back the fireworks show after the games. I know we used to do that back before Lainey and I were involved with Swiss Days. Those are some ideas that we talked about. I don't know, this is just share your thoughts.
the fireworks, the people are already there, social distance, the school board did all that for us.
Yeah,
So
we won't
can
have
just
to worry.
buy them.
Yeah, we won't have to worry about how to get them there and how to seat them and what they're doing. They're already there, so we don't have to track anything to do that. So that's nice, like on, as far as that form goes, that would already be, they're just there and we're taking advantage of that. We could play some Swiss music while the fireworks are going. And we talked about having Swiss music down at the bridge if we decide to do that. So, yeah. I don't know. We originally thought we could still make things work. And as we went through that list, we were like, oh, I don't even know where to begin.
It's hard. I mean, me and Terry have been talking about it a lot. And I said, Swiss Days is a celebration of the heritage, and it's a celebration of the I don't want to call them elderly, but that generation. Those two, this side of the room. It's when families come back to visit, and it's everything that the COVID regulations say thou shalt not do.
Yes.
Every time you turn around, there's a rule saying don't do that right now, or you're going to go outside the guidelines. And personally, I'm uncomfortable exposing the treasures of the city to that right now without the vaccine, without some other things that we know. So personally, I've been uncomfortable with it. Even the parade. Maybe not the 5K, because I've read the marathon regs and the Ironman regs that are going forward, and they can set that up to where you can still do it. And you can social distance, and it's outside, and they can manage that. So I think we could probably still do a 5K. I worry about the parade. I worry about people going to the effort that they're accustomed to going through for Swiss Days and not getting the fulfillment that they're accustomed to seeing come back from Swiss Days. I worry about that. Having something happen during the same time, like you talked about with the, dedicate the bridge. We've put off dedicating the bridge. We put off dedicating the new park, Heritage Park. Kind of thinking that we'd be able to do those events, sometime in the fall and maybe as part of Swiss Days. I mean, we could probably still do that because I don't know that they're going to be super. Typically, the park dedications, you're less than 50 people. that are coming to those, but you can, it still gives you something that you can have during that window of time to celebrate, you know, as a community. So I don't know, that's my thoughts.
Yeah, and one thing we talked about trying to still have the run, and it was the finish line. Like it sounded easier to try to distance them at the beginning, but then they're all in different time. We kind of congregate right there. So I don't know if we just want to like have them end and go home. I mean,
That's probably
that
what
was
you'd have
yeah,
to do.
like
You
and do
couldn't
we-
gather them out here like
do we
do.
police that, or do we just say you should go home, or is it like there's going to be someone out there saying leave?
Yeah, but he doesn't have that many handcuffs.
Yeah, so those were some of the things, yeah, we had talked about, like, what is reality there? Like, I mean, if we say you should not do that, but they do it anyways, is that just on them? Or we have to try to, like, I mean, you read those papers and it's like, we are supposed to be implementing this. So I'm like thinking how, but I don't know. I don't know what the,
Council, Wendell?
In our last meeting, a couple weeks ago, we talked about doing one event, just one day. And maybe have it in conjunction with the homecoming, the football game, and then have the light parade after that. Maybe fireworks after that, have it all done the same day. Is that a possibility?
it probably could be, yeah, anything, I mean, anything that falls in the guidelines are a possibility.
How are they doing the football game? I mean, are they limiting who can go and?
I do know about that because I have a
Yeah.
child too, and they said that as of right now, school board letting, this is a rumor, so put that on your whatever, this is a rumor. They said that, from a 17-year-old boy that told me, yeah, he said like 3,000 people per side can go outside of 2 which our stand is that only holds like 28 kids, so it can be overfull. But the game I'm going to in Salt Lake, each player gets 6 tickets.
And that was my question on like setting it. I think the fireworks show would be great, but if they limit it to 100 people in the stands, it's, I guess we
But we could tell people, you know, you will be able to view it from the
line
school
the,
parking
yeah,
lot
the
or the
park.
Canyon View Park.
The
I feel
park.
like people could even stay in their cars if they wanted.
When we had Swiss days at Canyon View Park, that's, the fireworks was up there at the football.
Yeah.
I mean, it was right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like the fireworks
I like
show. I
the
think that'd be
fireworks because
great.
they're already there. I don't have to worry about getting them in and out in the proper way or monitoring all that. They're there. So like,
That's like
and then we
this-
just do the show and it's already,
We could,
The St. George City, like, I was not here on the 4th of July, but you could stop to where you could see it, right? Like, they didn't know what to do.
and they
Yeah.
we could burn out the wash while we're there. Just get that
No.
done all at the same
No.
time.
no more fires.
Yeah, it'd be perfect. And I,
Children do like fires, but that would be honoring our heritage.
that'd be
Yeah,
awesome.
it is true.
But
They
I like
like
the
to
5K as well if we can. I think if we,
I think you could change the finish.
and if they come in, I
Change the
don't,
start and the finish to a large parking area. They come, run, and disperse.
it's
Yeah.
pretty fun to hear that Saturday morning, you know, hear the bustle down here early in the morning. And I don't think certainly they can sign in their waiver, you know, hey, we need you to disperse and not gather. And I don't think we need the police there
Okay.
escorting them home.
We
But
still have the food and stuff there or no food, just go home?
This year we decided, back in March when we thought we'd be green by now, like, we thought for sure the fun run it would just be a fun run this year. We tried to make it
Cheaper.
cheaper, so we don't have a chit, we don't have any of that. Like, they'll get their a t-shirt and that's basically.
It's only an $8 entry
it
fee.
would
So
be $8.
we cut the price in half, hoping that maybe we were giving the townspeople kind of a break during this time that they could still afford to do it. So we already had changed that a little, but then we started to worry, are we even going to be able to have that? So, but yeah, we can we can change the ending. So that would kind of be a Friday night, Saturday morning event. Then instead of doing it all on Friday, maybe we'd do Saturday night or Friday night, Saturday morning type event.
Do you want to dedicate the bridge? I don't think you will have anyone there on Friday night.
No, we'd probably do that Saturday.
Saturday, like,
Now we're talking about lighting and
Yeah.
it's swinging to a night activity.
And we don't have to have lighting. We can have cows and flags and music. It was just thought.
yeah, there's really hard to plan.
I
during this
know.
time, just so you know. It's really
I think
We
if
had
we,
this wheel that was
but if
like
we-
just rolling and we just implemented everything. And then all of a sudden this year we're like,
but if we
Right.
decked out Santa Clara Drive with the flags and the cows and let the residents know, hey, we want to do something special down Santa Clara Drive and where the people could drive through there and so, you know, we have a great fireworks show on Friday night. We do the 5K or the fun run.
Decorate the street.
You know, you have
We
Gatorade
can
or
do, we
something.
can do the dedications. We can put that off even. If it looks like, the idea of having a dance on the new bridge is kind of a kick. I'd love to be able to see us get there to where we could do it. But if the event restrictions postpone that, then we postpone it.
I think you'd have to be in green for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Just
we
based
may,
on what I've read.
it's going to be, I mean, everybody right now, the big thing is school's going to start. And 2 weeks after school starts, where everybody's going to be watching that case thing.
Oh, yeah.
And for the first month after that, which takes us right before Swiss days, it's up in the air right now. And we don't really know. And everybody's nervous about it. The hospital, the health department, school district, they're fighting with the state school board over the new regs that they put on them to open and the quarantine restrictions. I mean, you could shut down if the state school board regs are implemented and enforced, and they have to quarantine kids if they're exposed for 2 weeks. And you think about a high school kid that's going to 6 classes a day, 35 different people, and he gets exposed. That just took 200 people out of school.
Don't tell me that.
You-
And they're wrestling with that. So this next
Yeah.
month
is really tough.
is
Yeah, and we talked about that and the amount of money, if we do have to cancel, say we go back to Orange when schools go back, we don't want to have spent tons of money and then have to cancel it. And that's why we were trying to do things, not rent in the tent, like trying to do things that we wouldn't have spent hardly a thing. The fireworks, I mean, technically, yes, someone will have to probably get those ordered ahead of time. So that could be something that we pay for that
but that's,
doesn't happen.
that's
I don't
something
know.
I don't think we would cancel.
No, you could do the fireworks.
Okay, yeah,
And it,
Even if there wasn't a
any of the
football game.
phases, you could do the fireworks.
That's
People just
true.
find a place in their car or whatnot.
that's
They
true.
still-
Yeah.
I think you could do a fireworks show and a fun run
I do too. I think
under the
fun run-
guidelines. And I think if we just just did something fun along the drive that people could see it for a month or see it for the, you know, just the flags and all that. Yeah.
All the banners.
Been super appreciative.
You're going to do it for the full month like normal?
Mhm. Everything like normal. We just said, we sent him a letter and just said, you know, as a thanks to your support in the past, for your support in the past, we understand this is a hard time for most businesses and we would like to put up your banner this year.
And they were
Just-
really.
and they were-
We've got
Lots of feedback that,
thankful.
yeah, they like that.
What do you want to do? It's volunteer and Grand Marshal.
We talked about that and we talked about probably holding off where we don't really have an
Just-
event to recognize
Just not
them.
do one right now until we can have an event.
Yeah, just doesn't feel fair to
It's
not have an event to,
It's not to get picked the one year that we don't
Yeah.
have the parade.
yeah. So that was our
A
thought.
question
Yes.
on the fun run. In the past, that's been really family. I mean, I know my kids come down from Springville and we run in the fun run and that won't happen this year.
Right.
And the gathering after the race was almost as important as the race itself.
I know.
And if we are not going to gather, and I'm not sure that I'm seeing that the fun run is going to be as successful, even if we try and put it on, as if we wait a year. But
Yeah.
I'm
I
not
agree.
opposed
I
to it,
think
but-
that there won't be near as many runners. There just won't be, you know.
Well, I know how, I mean, I can think of 15 families that have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people that participate every
There's
year.
100 people right there. Yeah. Well, that's just, yeah.
That's above our pay grade, so you guys get to choose.
So is registration open for it now, or you haven't
No.
opened it yet?
No.
We've just told everyone. I've had probably between entertainment, like puppet show, all the things are like, what's going on, and we're just.
And we have a mixture of volunteers. We have some volunteers that are fine to still put on events, and we have some that say they don't want to be a risk. So we can find people to help with what we end up doing, I'm sure.
We
You know,
just
just
are
with-
really.
Yeah, so you guys just help them.
But I mean, I think the fireworks doesn't impact anybody, and it is a tremendous, I mean, years ago, they used to do it after the homecoming game when we had Swiss days, and on Friday nights, we'd have the fireworks, and everybody stuck around. The park
Right.
up at
And
the
it
top
is
was
fun.
always full, and it was fun to sit there and participate in that, win or lose.
Yeah, I mean, the fun run, yeah, the fun run does present some risk. I mean, yes, people will probably be together. I mean, as much as we try it, it does present some risk. We will have to, you know, make sure they're aware of the guidelines and the new rules and adhere to all of them. I mean, we'll have to have their contact information in case there is any type of outbreak, because we have to be able to contact them, but we'll
We
have
will
that
have that.
in a fun run application. So it's, you know, I think we can make that fall within the guidelines, just like you said, the other races are. I think we can
Yeah, they've
make that
got
work,
Pretty
but
strict.
will people do it? I don't know. I think some will.
I think you'll get, they're doing the marathon, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, again, I'm aware school's gonna, I mean, they've already probably got 10 articles written for the first COVID case in school, but, and it's gonna be, you know, it is, but it's like, holy cow, if anybody needs to be in groups, it's these kids that it's not gonna affect, but it's not what's being presented, but I'd like to see us do some stuff. Like I said, I think there are gonna be some that don't participate, but they can make that choice. I think you'll still see a lot of families and their families. So you'll still see, you know, those groups coming out and running. And it may not be the huge group you get, but if it's a fun run, it'll still be.
That's the beauty of the fun run is we don't really have.
We won't put out a bunch of costs in advance because we can hold off t-shirt orders until a couple weeks before.
We'll kind
And
of
so
have an idea.
hopefully by then we will know more solidly. So I don't know, you thinking then fireworks and fun run? Is this?
And all the decorations.
And yes, still all the stuff, all
I
the
think
flags.
that people will, once I put those banners up, like the
cows.
sponsor banners that go up, the cows usually, I mean, they just all.
Come out.
They just
Yeah.
come. So people will.
And we
still
can put that
represent.
in the newsletter,
We'll
you know,
remind people.
once we know what we're doing, we'll put it out there and just encourage people to please put up your flags, put out your cows. Let's try and still show that it's Swiss Days in Santa Clara, even though it's
And
downsized.
The word you put out will be really important,
Yeah, I think so.
getting that word out.
And Canyon
Yeah.
Media will still like do radio ads for us even though we don't really have a trade, they are willing to like put out some radio ads.
And we'll hang their banner.
Social media.
Yeah.
We'll do
So advertise.
What about starting the fun run a little bit later, since we're not pressed on the back end? And maybe draw in some folks who just didn't want to get up and be out at 7 a.m., 6:45 or whatever. I mean, I get it gets,
Talk to your runners, see how that's received.
Yeah,
on
the only concern
Does
I have
get
with that
warmer.
is changing it. I just hope we just have to make sure they all are aware.
yeah.
They'll have to read that line like 4 times. Note, the time is changing
Yeah.
this year. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, sometimes to change it just for 1 year might
Yeah.
cause confusion.
What's been the word you hear, Bretta? I mean, what do they want?
As far as the run, I've talked to people that like to run and they want to have the run. So,
There's people that want like the whole thing, but they don't understand. Once I show them that packet, they're like, oh, yeah, like you can't. I'm like, I was all gung ho. Like I was like, we're having Swiss taste.
oh yeah,
Like this is what's happening. I am a traditionalist. And then I was like, okay, yeah, I don't know how to do this. We can
you
do
guys to
it.
be in hot water.
I don't know the liability issue on the city if someone like freaks out. People, I mean, everyone wants normal. They do want normal, but it's just not normal. Like that's just.
I'm with you too, like, just so uncertain when schools go back. I just feel like we're on the verge of it's gonna go one way or the other, and I don't know which way it's gonna go.
Yeah, and like, for example, Claudia was all for like hands-on at the beginning, and yeah, as soon as we go green, we're doing it, and then as this has like gotten longer and longer, she's like, I don't know if like hands-on is really tough. Like that is so germy, so many people, like that is one of the, like, people love hands-on. Like that is one of our best attended things. And you just can't do that. I mean, to keep those kids spread out.
Just
and
the name alone. All the policies.
milking the cow and the whole
Yeah.
thing is just like
Hands on, no.
hands on.
Hands off.
So, like, it's those things that we all want, but I guess we will really love it next year. We'll appreciate it.
We'll appreciate it more.
We're gonna appreciate it. Right. So I know this is a work meeting, but can you?
On election, it should be all right.
How to move forward?
You just heard it, I think.
Okay.
But
Everyone.
Mayor, what about the bridge? Do you want to light it?
I think the evening, morning works. So let's look at it, maybe a different day for the dance.
I was just thinking about.
Mayor, can I pipe in?
This is the voice.
Yeah, for the voice from above.
Pick them all out.
Sorry. I've been waiting to butt in, so I just wanted to say that I agree with what's been said so far. I do really like the idea of a reverse parade, and it could just be candy. It doesn't have to be anything special, but candy would sure be fun to do in a reverse parade. And then I also wanted to pipe in that maybe it's different over in Washington City, but Staley Farm has done a kids carnival, and they had a drive-in movie last week. They did like a mountain biking movie premiere. So we might want to give a call over there and just see if they're just skirting the rules or if they're actually filling out the packet a different way, or kind of how that's happening.
According to what we have looked at, I don't know how she's doing that. Honestly,
There's-
I don't know.
Yeah,
Just saying. That's all I'll say on that. But I don't know how that's happening
There's-
unless she has a different rule book than we do.
I know someone went to the Washington County Fair Parade yesterday, and there's a sign,
A sandwich board.
a sandwich board that just said, you're here at your own risk or something. Like there's some legal wording on it.
how was it attended? How well was it attended?
There was 50 entries in the parade, which is probably not as
85 shy of where they normally have.
Yeah, and there were quite a few people there. They weren't. So,
Yeah, that's the problem, is that you have
once
the
you get
event,
there,
you don't.
can't help yourself. Like you just can't. And I'm all for wanting to. I am first. Yeah, you just tell me what to do.
I mean, we could decorate the bridge for a daylight thing and have the reverse parade and go across the bridge.
I did mention that to a couple people as an idea, and I will say that I did not get great feedback on
They
that,
didn't know what that was.
Yeah,
or if they would
that's-
bother to go.
That's kind of what I'm thinking, is they don't understand. I'd rather wait a little while
And have to answer.
and have a dance.
Yeah.
But I think that could be really fun.
That would be fun.
actually fun. And might be a little cooler if we,
Sure.
And you got those, the lights that we did, like,
Oh, this is gonna be a full-blown laser show, right, Jarrett?
yeah.
We're lighting that sucker up.
Like we put normally at Swiss Days, like for breakfast and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Put a disco ball.
Yeah, big disco ball on the middle. There you go.
I mean, you could load up the engines and do the reverse parade and drive through the heights and through designated road. I mean, you could load up the engines and have sirens blaring and, you know, and keep it to 5 vehicles, just throwing candy off it all through the town.
Drive that everywhere. Teachers
Yeah.
did that at the school and that was awesome. That was fun. So that would be a better, like, reverse parade than, just having the people come to you. Cause I don't know if they would.
Yeah.
but-
You could extend it with the engines. You could extend it to, you know, through the heights and, you know, through the valley and just designate, you know.
Those that step out their door, you could hit them with glass and water.
Well, yeah, you know, and they could line up there. You'd have people come in and, I mean, you just extend it to where it wouldn't be so congested, but you could at, you know, 10 o'clock Saturday morning, do a
You could do that.
45-minute
Do it after the
engine
fun
ride
You
through.
could do that
run. You
after.
could do it after the fun run.
That would be something. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Chief, how many
That-
engines do we have?
That way it disperses them and gets them gone. and get
Four?
back to their homes.
I've asked that question.
Could we get our
every
ladder
year.
truck by then, Brock?
They won't load it with water. We have to bring our own water.
That would be super
My
fun.
family would be all over that.
I mean, that would be, I think it'd be fun to go out your, I mean, you wouldn't be on every street, but you know, up Canyon View and
You could put
Crestview
that
and
in the newsletter.
Goobler and Rachel.
You
Or,
could come up with a route.
yeah, and then down through the valley, you could make it pretty fun. I mean, if you wanted to, you could take an hour Saturday
That might
morning.
be a
and-
way to get people to go home too
Yes.
after the fun run, like,
Parade's gonna
okay, hurry
start.
home,
Yeah.
the parade's gonna come by your house or
And,
whatever.
and maybe if we
Bring the parade
identified,
to you.
yeah, if we identified the main hub streets, not that we want people to congregate, but for those,
The wider streets.
yeah, so you take, like you say, Crestview, Rachel, you take the big ones, even the people who don't live on them could walk to them. It's what, they just walk.
We're
to
gonna
their
need a
closest
lot of
street.
candy this year, Brock. The route
Yeah,
got
that'd
longer.
be-
You don't need to give them.
Don't tell Brock that. It's already
One of
got
my
a candy
fun
shop.
things to do, buy the cake.
There went the budget.
Yeah.
It makes our budget look.
Brock and
Well, that
his
would
candy.
be,
We're always like,
that-
what's this line item? Oh, that's
That's
candy.
candy.
All I get told is make sure they don't run out of candy. So that's what I strive to do.
It's true.
I think
The
that's-
candy is the best part.
Fireworks, candy and water.
There you go.
Perfect.
Well, that sounds, we'll
Totally doable.
go back to the drawing board
Okay.
then.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
Okay,
Is
those
this
three
okay
things.
from a police standpoint, the driving around?
Jarrett,
Excelente.
does Jarrett, you want to,
You okay, Jarrett? You got some more?
Well, I was just going to add, the elementary school, Santa Clara Elementary did a reverse parade at the end of the year, and it worked out really well. So you could also talk to them of how they got the word out and kind of what they did. But my kids loved it. It was really fun.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. All right. Thanks for all your input.
nice work.
Thank you, ladies.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Okay, thank you.
Jason here yet? Is this like a home delivery I've got to make here?
Corey might have.
Corey, Jason, Lindsay? Okay, I'll call him as soon as we finish.
I'll stand in it.
Okay, Isaac Seed property visit. Do we need to talk about anything before we go? We're just going down the hill. Let's do the staff reports before we go. Well, we could make them trail us all the way around up there and then tell us, but, okay. Chief, you want to go first, staff reports?
I'll be really quick. It's been a long time since I've been before you. It's kind of let you know that, you know, with what's going on nationally and internationally and whatever, it does have an effect on us. And we've been moving quickly on a lot of things, like, for instance, our RAP that you all came, that training is all done. That's our control device. We're getting a lot of attention on that. That was donated to us, paid for by a citizen. We've also recently sent Jaron Studley to not Jaron, Nick Hallman to a federal drone school. We bought a drone. It's been paid for. To use the drone is very restricted, complicated, but it's going to help us immensely with our crime scene stuff. And we actually got the idea from Santa Clara City's Public Works. They came out and helped us do that big burglary scene out there, and it was phenomenal. We use it for lost children, things like fires. You can actually take this around a school, and you can put it inside a school, and it'll go inside your school and not hit the walls if you've got something actively going on in there. So we're really excited about that. Again, paid for out of a donation. It was about, well, a grant and a donation. It was about $7,000. Got a new speed trailer we bought out of last year's money. That's computerized. We're moving on that. We've been watching this restrictions that are coming our way, just so you know that we're doing everything already. We've got the cameras, we got the quick reporting, we turn in our numbers, we review all of our use of force, we report those, but unless I'm directed to, I'm not going to do a civilian review board right now because it's highly complicated. We do maybe 2 reviews a year. We got a grandma request from KSL asking about all of our lawsuits over the last 5 years. We've had none. We've had no complaints. We have used force about 6 times, but they're all with compliance, and we review all those, and I generally report those back to the city manager. So we're on that. The only thing I'm a little concerned about, the implied immunity. I know Scott knows about that. It's really important to law enforcement to keep that. And then there are new changes. They're putting officers under warning that you have a duty to intercede if you see something that is inappropriate or wrong, which is common sense. I don't need federal law to tell me that. You know, I pulled officers back off things. I've been involved in emotional things where I've grabbed an officer by the neck. I had to pull Scott off a guy one time in Salt Lake. It's kind of embarrassing for him, but we got it taken care of. We're kind of concerned about, we would like to see the city at some point in the future help us with getting some cameras we can move around the city, put in the parks, put in some of our streets. We've been having a rash of these kids coming through and doing large-scale vehicle burglaries. The last one, they just started at the top of the heights and went all the way down. We got them, by the way, and we've got firearm back and some of the things, but that was just simply because of a video and a grandfather that called us. And so I'd like to put that was great law enforcement, but it was just information we received. We have some active cases involving burglary and some attacks on people, but we're working on those pretty hard. We're doing well as a department. Officers are appreciative of the support they get. They feel it. Our citizens have been great. We're training right now with St. George and the county. We have the combined SWAT team, but we're working on a quick response team so we can go and help them in their protests, and they can help us. We've had some, not really threats, but I've received some emails about our statues, and our instructions to our officers are take aggressive action right away. And I'll back you 100%. Just be within the law. Somebody wraps a chain around the statue, take them to jail. And so we're not going to stand by unless you tell me to. And I'm totally against that, totally against it. But I'm a good soldier most of the time. And, but really, we're doing well. Just appreciate the support. We certainly do. We have what we need, and things are going well. So, if you have any questions of me?
Any staffing issues? Just fully staffed, or is it still tight?
Well, like any organization, I'd like to have a couple more officers. But right now, our reports are pretty stable. Our response times are good. I've added Reed Briggs a little bit, is helping with our investigations. So I think we're okay for now. When I come and request it is because we really need, and our service is diminishing, but I'm not seeing that, to be honest with you. We're a little concerned with school starts. We're going to lose a couple of officers, and then we have one officer out on maternity leave. So what that does leave us sometimes with one officer on. But I've also instructed the officers, you have to respond, but you don't have to engage until you get the support there that you need. So we understand that. And staffing is doing well. We bought 2 new bikes. So I'm disappointed. We're not going to use them during Swiss days, but we'll get them out there in the fireworks show.
They have to follow the parade.
Well, they will if they've got the legs to do it. Yeah, but we're doing well. Cameras are all updated. Officer Hallman was able to get us a grant for all new radios for our patrol cars, which was tens of thousands of dollars. And we've got money for some new cameras on a grant. So right now, equipment-wise, we're doing pretty darn well. And great to him, he did it on his own. It was just a great surprise. So and I'm really, really, I mean, I'm telling you, I've gotten thousands of dollars in food donations. Today, I had somebody come in and bring a $500 gift card in. We've had them, it's been in my career, a really great thing to happen, you know, and I think we're all realists. We know kind of what's going on. There's things that needed to be cleaned up, but the support has been great, been absolutely great.
Questions, comments, council?
Hey, thanks.
Thanks, Chief. Chief? Doorman, bouncer?
Oh, yeah, July obviously was a real busy month for us. We had quite a few fires we responded to. I think I counted in our stats that there were 16 brush fires that we responded to in the month of July. Our wildland crew specifically went to 5 different fires during the month of July, which some of those were extended time fires, 14 days. They went up to and assisted with the Vail fire. And also we had a very large fire out on Utah Hill area, the Apex fire, we called it, which was about 200 acres, 200 plus acres. So we've been real busy over the month. Our crew's also been working on the bike trail from the Swiss Memorial Park, doing some cutting there, cleaning that up, getting that look nice. And they spent several days up there. I think they've got a little bit more work to do up there to finish it up. But they've been busy doing that in between, you know, going back and forth to their different fires. Other than that, we've just been going forward. Nobody's been sick. We have responded to several homes that were COVID positive, but none of our crew have tested positive. We're taking our proper precautions and doing everything we need to do to protect ourselves and the people that we respond to. So other than that, we're doing well and staying real busy, and we're still not out of the woods yet as far as fire season goes. We've got red flag warnings still ahead of us, and so we're keeping an eye on that.
Questions, council? Thanks, Chief. Scott, you representing Jack? Public Services?
Yes.
Bradley?
Say Jack's always on vacation.
That's what I heard.
That's what I heard. Let the record show.
On the recreation side, we've got several tournaments scheduled, and they've all came up with the COVID plan and on the governor's requirements, and they've all met them. We've got a tournament starting not this weekend, but the following weekend, and it's a senior tournament. It'll be at Googler on 3 fields, and I'm highly confident that they'll do a good job. They've got a good plan together. And usually senior softball, they don't have a lot of they have participants, but they don't have a lot of spectators, and they're usually clean and well managed. So I'll view this one, and then they want to bring another senior tournament in September 17th to October 4th. And it's about the size of Huntsman Senior Games tournament. So we'll take in all of St. George. this is kind of a precursor to see how they do. Huntsman Senior Games is canceled this year. I'm sure you've heard that news. They made the announcement July 31st. We've got a Baseball Forever tournament scheduled Labor Day weekend. That one, we're working on the COVID plan. We haven't accepted it yet until we get that plan and we have a chance to review it. But they want to use 7 ball fields, and they're also out of California. So a lot of people and teams are coming in, or management teams are coming in from California and Nevada. But we're being extremely careful and making sure that they follow the plan. And if they don't, then we won't allow them to come back. We've been working on banners for the streetscape. We had a little additional wrap money that Brock told us about. So we'll have those up for Swiss Days. Estelle's working on the design with Sorrel, and we've got about 20 different things, but some of the themes are around with cows and flowers and things that are bright and happy, and then some with the glockenspiel. So I'll bring those to you so you can kind of look those over and pick the ones you want. But we have a lot of banners, or a lot of poles to put banners on, so we can have a lot of different variety in the banners. I talked with Drake Howell today and asked him when they were going to do the Benelli Drive landscape along the trail there. And he said he was going to contract it out and he would get started on it fairly quickly, but I just wanted to give you an update on that. Lava Flow Trail is complete, except for a crossing. We're doing a cattle guard crossing down on the Red Mountain Drive. And then we also have to put some stripes across Rachel Drive and stop signs at the end and stuff like that, but it's complete. I've got the notice today for completion to send into the state so we can get our grant money for that. I said just send some pictures and send in the form. Build St. George City for the irrigation line. So we're hoping that check comes in fairly quickly. So that project's 90% done. Swiss Pioneer Memorial Park, we've had an awful problem with the grass there. So I've done some testing. I had the water district come out and do a water audit first off to make sure that the water system was performing correctly. And then I had the landscape architect come out and review the installation and review that. We found a couple discrepancies, but nothing too major, except for the water pressure was a little bit below what they designed for. But the water audit showed that the water was good. I took a soil sample and I sent it to Utah State to find out if there was a problem in the soil, and that's the problem. They used the turkey mulch in the grass, and they put a lot of it in, and they tilled it in really well, but the salinity content was super high and the potassium was super high. So it caused it to burn, because during that heat of the summer, it caused it to burn, the grass. So, and then because of the excessive amount of water that was put on the grass, because it looked like it was, dying from the salt, it caused it to get a mildew, also a fungus on it. So between those two things, that's why the grass looks the way it does. But September, I gave them a deadline of September 15th. We're going to come in and redo the sod and fill it in again and follow the recommendations of Utah State. And we should be good to go after that and replace the plants. Also, a lot of the trees and things around it died because they were putting so much water on the grass. There's a lot of clay there, so that water just it's all, because of the water feature, it's all graded to drain towards the restroom side or the east side. So all that water percolated under the ground and overwatered all the plants. So we lost a lot of trees and stuff. So they have a lot to do. I held a good sum of money back, and I haven't paid them for it until the landscape's corrected. So we'll be ready for whatever we decide to do on Swiss Days, but it'll be done. Still waiting on tables and garbage cans. The manufacturer's closed for COVID currently, and they have a Friday deadline to ship, or we're going to go somewhere else. But
Playground, what's status on the playground?
Playground's complete, the chip's in, and it's open for business. It's open. Yeah, it's open. Yeah.
And it's awesome.
Is it?
Yeah,
Yeah, it turned out nice.
Yeah.
I was going to say that lawn looks just like my lawn. So can they replace mine while they're doing?
Yeah. I'd like to give special thanks to TurboScape and Steve and Matt Condi. They donated all the chip for the playground, and they had a group with their church that went out and actually hauled all the chip because they weren't able to get it in their truck. So they just brought a big load, dumped it in the street, and over the weekend they hauled it and did all the chip for the playground, all donated by Steve. So
That's awesome.
yeah. So,
Very cool.
I don't-
Anything else, Brett?
No, I think that's enough, I think, unless you have questions for me.
Council?
I just,
This part, it turned out really nice down there. Yeah, the lawn just summer, but it's,
yeah.
it really, the rock work around it looks really good down there. It's a nice feature to the downtown.
I did want to tell Jarrett that I'm working on the pavement grant for the BMX track and the Little League and all of that. And I should have it done by Friday. So there's no money this year is what I've been told, but they'll put us in the queue. So as soon as there is money, then they'll look at our project. But I'm pretty close to having it ready.
Cool. Corey?
So buildings coming along good. We have 5 for last month for July, 5 homes. I just issued a couple more up at Belisol. We've got 7 in plan review. Various other permits, about 12 between July and now. Currently 193 active building permits. Between July 1st and July 31st, we did 273 building and stormwater inspections. We did a pre-construction meeting for Little Lava. That's a 6-lot subdivision up on Pioneer and Lava Cove Drive. So that'll be coming online. They've got some graders and backhoes and stuff up there, so they'll start earthwork on that. Also, we did a pre-construction meeting for Dollar Tree, and we're anticipating they'll drop off some equipment. It's a contractor out of Las Vegas, so they'll start grading that. Soils report says they got to move about 6 feet of dirt underneath that building, so they'll be moving that. We'll see some action there. I hear some speculation that either a Dollar Tree or a Fritz, not a Dollar Tree, but a O'Reilly's or a drink shop will be going on the other parcel. Haven't seen any paperwork on it, but that's what I'm hearing. For Planning Commission, we have Boxace Hardware coming back to Planning Commission for their site plan approval, a review. We have the amended final plat for Ocotillo Springs Phase 1. They had a 6-plex that they want to change into a 5-plex. It's a minor change to their final plat. Jared Bates is working on that. Final plat for the Sycamores. Out of the Sycamores, they have 6 lots along 6 Sycamore lanes. They have installed the improvements to Lot 7, curb gutter, power, water. They just don't have sidewalk along that Lot 7, which is actually not in first phase, but the second phase. So they're going to amend the plat for a single lot is what the request is. So we'll take that to Planning Commission. And we're going to go ahead and bring the proposed amendment to the zoning ordinance back, the PD ordinance, Planning Commission. So those would be the things on the Planning Commission docket. Scott's worked on opened and closed 20 work orders last month pertaining to city code violations and miscellaneous repairs to the city office. Other than that, staff is healthy, working on training. It's required for our building inspections. Been working on stormwater and getting through that whole evaluation. So we're good with COVID-19 and staying safe out there in the field.
Questions for Corey?
Any word on when the project for color is supposed to be done?
So I met with the contractor last week. They're sheetrocking the inside. I have inspections over there for power tomorrow. He's obviously having difficulty getting people because it's a unique building. The architects got unique ideas on what's on the outside and what's on the inside. So it's a slow process, but they are moving forward. So do I have a date when it's going to be done? No, I'm sorry, I don't.
Okay.
But they are making progress.
I saw cars parked on both sides of the road, and I know we had talked about asking him to maybe park somewhere else. And someone was trying to meander through cars and people, and so I thought, Wonder what the
Been really
status is.
bad the last couple of days because they're putting the interior conduit to all those buildings for power. So they had to dig trenches. And I'm going to be over there tomorrow morning to approve those. They'll get them buried. And then they'll be able to park back inside. And I'll let the contractor know again to keep them off the road.
Questions, comments? Thanks, Corey. Rob?
All right, so I'll start with admin over that, and court. Court is staying relatively busy, but in the way they can handle court, which is mainly through phone calls, they will be starting, I believe, doing WebEx meetings. They have no, last I was told their date of doing in-court person, my person would be in December. If that happens, that's the date that actually in person. And we don't know what our guidelines are be at that time. Right now, the guidance have been said they would be mandatory masks and things. And so we'll be ready for that if that's what happens. So I think a little bit slower just based on what's happening in our city with citations, things like that. So, but they're trying to stay up to date with the court. We're also working on updating other facilities here with the electronic meetings, making sure we have those capabilities in other places in the building, besides just in here and updating here. So it'll be a much easier access than just Zoom. We can move to just streaming and things like that rather than having to do the Zoom. We can just stream straight to like YouTube and that. So we're still working through those. We had a little trouble today. Chris came in today this morning to get this set up, and we had no microphones or no speakers this morning. Amplifier went out. It was the original put in 2008. Decided it was not going to work today. So we got that fixed about 4:15. They got it fixed. We are working through our new accounting software that got installed. And so we're just minus Debbie Bannon, the rest of us all feel like new employees and trying to figure out how to function. So we all have worked on Cassell, so it's a whole new thing. I feel it's trying to figure out where anything is and trying to pull a report or anything. It's been a little challenging, I'd say. So, but we'll get through it. Long term, it'll be really good. So we have that. We have the audit. Our annual audit comes up the end of the month, 26th to the 28th. So we're preparing for that. And we've responded to a few citizens complaints. And that I spoke with one just yesterday with the mayor on EMS. And so we just handled a few of those complaints. But other than that, we're moving, just as they said, moving forward. So.
Questions for Brock, Council?
UAMPS, from what I understand, is not happening.
Well,
It might be just virtual.
might be virtual.
Yeah, not even, I know originally they had talked about maybe you could do one or the other. From what I understand, Scott actually, because I hadn't heard for sure, but he was saying that he was told from Jack, apparently that the in-person is not happening.
Yeah, that's what Jack told me too.
Also, League of Cities, I think is on my my transportation utility fee. I had a meeting on Monday. Karen Dill talked about that, but I had to step out for another call. Debbie said they were talking about that might be down to a one-day event.
They're soliciting feedback. You should have got an email from them asking if you would come if they did a one-day event.
So,
I replied, it would depend on the day and what they were planning on doing it, if they were going to limit the group size and what would be there for a day where you travel up there for one day. So I don't know.
yeah. So yeah, I was thinking that transportation utility fee, or the league had a meeting on Monday with roughly the 12 municipalities who have a fee. We were on there and had a discussion. Pleasant Grove implemented one about a year and a half ago and promptly was sued. And they felt confident in defending their fee. They lost, and so they're in the appeals process. So they're trying to decide what the next step is, what the 12 municipalities want to do. And so they're going, they came out with 5 kind of different options, but they're going to send out some talking points. One of the real concerns is they're not sure what the legislature is going to do. And the concern is that how hard Pleasant Grove, I guess, fights through the appeals process to then possibly win, to then have the legislature turn around and say, that's not legal. And so that's the concern right now. So they're going to send out some points they want, I think, is really to trying to contact legislatures and see what their feeling is towards it. If, somebody's going to find out if somebody's going to maybe run a bill that might say that it's not a legal fee. So that's kind of what they're going to try to get the feedback from, and then kind of make a decision from there, how they're going to proceed. Pleasant Grove kind of took the bullet for everybody, as many, they were like the last one to implement it, but they're the ones who got sued. But it really will determine what happens through this, what happened with the other like 237 cities. If it's determined that it's okay, then you'll probably see the majority of those cities will implement the fee. We have had ours for a number of years. We're at the low end. Pleasant Grove's, I think residential fees like $8.50. And Provo's is like 18. So, but Pleasant Grove is not collecting their fee anymore. And they have not spent the funds, but they said they're sitting on about $1.5 million that they can't do anything. But that's where that's at. So we're going to wait and see. We'll get the stuff back from the league, and then we'll talk with some more legislatures and kind of see what their feelings are towards that fee. So, the real big talking point I will say is that if they take away the fee, that most of these cities will it'll just turn to a property tax. That's the way it's going to get pushed, is they can't do that type of funding. It's pushed to a property tax to try to fund the maintenance that's needed for roads. So.
Questions for Brock?
I got UAMP's invite. No go. It's the invite for UAMP's.
That's last time.
Okay, we're going to temporarily adjourn and travel up to the deed property. And then we'll reconvene. So
You're up there.
Up there.
Do they know we're coming?
Do you want to just technically call it as an adjournment?
Whatever I need to do. Hey, I don't need a motion to do that. We be adjourned. It's work meeting. If he doesn't have ice cream, he's not getting it.
Who?
The property.
So the way.
Ice cream up there in Shade Structure.